Hello, my name is Emily Rose, and I'm a professional Lenormand and tarot reader. I also teach tarot readers and the mystically minded to read Lenormand like they're talking to a friend. And today we are here with our spring forecast. Now, this is a timeless video. So even if you are coming to this 3 months from now, a year from now, it doesn't matter. This can still apply to you. If you are attracted to this video, then it is for you. If you are watching this in the spring of 2022 or anywhere around there, I have some really exciting things coming up for Lenormand learners and those that are just curious about Lenormand. And if that is you, if that sounds like you will want to ensure that you have taken my free mini course. What this does is it teaches you the basics of Lenormand or gives you a nice refresh. Maybe you are someone who has read Lenormand for a while and you just need to kind of revive your practice. This is a really great way to do that. And I have something very special for you if you have taken the mini course or are just on my mailing list. So make sure you've taken that course and you will find that at the link below. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into your reading. So go ahead and take a deep breath and select the pile that is calling most to you. Will you choose the wand pile, the moss pile represented by this green stone, or the volcano pile represented by the candle? Just see which pile continues to come up in your mind. Before we get into the readings, it's important to note that all the futures that we are going to discuss are all possible futures. If there is something that arises in this reading that you are not resonating with, there's almost always the possibility of changing it. And that's because I'm only asking the cards for information that is helpful, actionable, and in your best and highest good. So I ask if something is unhelpful that it doesn't show up, so that way we're only working with helpful, actionable information. And I ask that both of our guides are present for this reading and that you receive information that is helpful to you on the next step of your journey. Please combine this information here with your own intuition for best results. Remember, you are ultimately in control of your own actions and you are in the driver's seat of your life. So please use your own discretion and judgment along with the information here. And remember that a reading on YouTube cannot purely dictate your future. You are also in charge. If you selected the wand pile, then here is your message for spring. Now, before I pulled any cards, I tuned in to see what visions I could get, wanted to see what just came to mind psychically. And the first thing I saw for our wand folks was I saw somebody standing on a path, like they were just walking ahead, and then I saw these arrows, and they really reminded me of the Eight of Wands card in a way, like how it looked with all of these arrows or wands flying through the air and landing directly in front of you. And every one of these wands or arrows felt alive, like they carried a new creative endeavor, a new project, a new task of some kind. And I saw you walking on this path and then getting almost interrupted in what you were trying to do by these arrows and almost walking past it before another one would land right in front of you. And the feeling I kept getting and the message I believe that spirit or whatever you believe in wanted to convey was that let these arrows arrive. Don't move. Just hold still for a moment and let these arrows arrive, or these wands arrive. And then look, after the raining of wands stops, look around and see what the universe, God, whatever you believe in, has brought you, and then take stock of it and see which one you want to move forward with. Which one do you want to pick up? Instead of just racing on to your next destination, you may have something that literally falls in your path. So that is the vision that I saw for our wand folks. Let's take a look at the theme of the spring for our wand folks. We have the 10 of Wands and the 2 of Wands. So I'm getting the sense that you are finishing up with a project, and it may be a heavy lift at the beginning of the spring, or perhaps you have already wrapped it up, or you're about to. You're kind of in that final stage. And this could be any number of things. It can be kind of something as literal as a graduation. It could be something related to school. You're finishing up a big project with school. This could be work related. Maybe you're finishing up a project or you're ending a job. It could be related to family as well. Maybe you're taking on extra responsibilities for your family and you may see a little bit of an end in sight. Whatever it is, you're kind of at the final stage of that. And you are getting ready to start again and start with something else. And here you have the 2 of Wands. So usually what comes after the 10 is the Ace, and that's where we get these ideas and we're able to kind of feel that inner fire within, and we're able to kind of conjure the energy to begin something new. But you see, we're kind of skipping that and we're just going on to the 2 of Wands. And I think that's okay, because I think we're skipping the Ace a little bit, because I think Spirit is bringing that to us, or the universe is bringing that to us. Remember, with the vision of the arrows or the wands that land in your path. And with the 2 of Wands, this is about really inspecting and dreaming into and imagining what could be possible. And I think that that is an essential step at this time. So instead of racing into your next project, this is really calling you into that energy of giving yourself a little bit of time to daydream, to dream into things, and look at the wands that land around you and take time to decide what is best for you in the future. You don't have to act right away. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the areas of our life that are going to come into importance. And first off, we will start with the garden. So this is our environment and our social scene. So these are, I kind of like to think of this as our circle of the people that we have in our lives. Now let's look at what may occur surrounding this. We have the key and the fox. So what I'm seeing here is you may be pretty discerning over the next 3 months or so with who you're allowing in your circle. And I think that after this heavy lift, you're tired and you do not have space for people that don't have your best and highest good in mind, or that drain your energy. And so I think that you may be a bit discerning here, and it's saying that's good. Really take stock of who is in your inner circle, who is around you, and are they good for you? And I think that's part of this dreaming into and looking at different possible scenarios and different possible futures that you want to embody for yourself. And who do you see around you? Let that be part of your daydreaming, because I definitely think that there's room to kind of mix this up. Now, this isn't saying that you're dropping friends altogether, but it's being really strategic about who you are surrounding yourself with. Now let's go ahead and look at the advice surrounding our social scene for the next few months. And we have the Moon and the 6 of Wands. And what I love about this is that we have the Moon, and I like to think of this as kind of our shadow side, or it's kind of another version of our authentic self, or the divine feminine, and it doesn't tend to come out and see the light of day very often in a very conscious way. It's typically seen through subtle actions, thoughts, expressions, things like that. And what this is saying is that you want people around you who are going to champion that divine feminine part of yourself. You want people around you who see you for who you are, and all your weird, your quirky, if you're witchy, you want people who see that part of yourself and they're excited about it. They're rooting you on. Maybe these are people who help you with shadow integration stuff. Maybe these are people who have done this work themselves. And if you don't have this community around you, you might be thinking, I don't have this at all. That's okay. You can call that in at this time. And that's what this is saying, is that, to take the next step on your journey, who you have around you is key. So this is the time to call in people who support you and support who you truly are, no matter what. And it may be time to just not nurture the relationships that you don't feel supported in. It may also not make logical sense. You may look at the people and think, well, they're fine, but there's a part of me that doesn't really vibe with them, but on paper they meet all the qualifications of a friend or of a coworker that I should get to know better. That doesn't matter. You gotta feel it in your gut that the people around you are right. And if you don't have that this time, this is the time to call them in. You have the energy working on your side to bring in people who will support this authentic, true part of yourself. The next area of your life coming into focus, and we have the fish. So you could think of the fish as money. That's certainly one interpretation, but in this context, I am seeing this as ideas, as things that are starting to come to us, kind of like that flow of new ideas and energy. Let's look at what may occur this month surrounding the fish. So what we have here is the mountain, the clouds, the crossroads, the lilies, the sun, and whoop, I'm bumping the camera. We also have the writer. What I'm seeing here is that things have felt stagnant for a while. This is very 10 of Wands energy. It feels like a slow slog up that hill, and you see he's carrying it to likely his family at the, climbing up there, getting that to his family, and it feels just like it's going to take forever. And that can cause some doubt, uncertainty. It can make us feel like, are we ever going to get there? But this is affirming, hey, there is a choice that's coming up here, and with the writer at the end, things are going to start moving. But what it's saying is that there's going to be some time with this choice here. And the message that I'm getting is looking for where the light is in those choices. So going back to the vision, looking at all of the wands that are in our pathway, which one do we want to pick up? And I see this as taking time with the decision. So even though the mountain is stagnant and you can see the lilies as like taking time, the lilies is more about peace. It's not inherently negative unless it has negative cards around it. With the sun modifying it, it's saying that, taking time is a positive thing. So taking some time, seeing what has light behind it, which choices have light behind them. I heard that phrase. I don't remember who I heard it from, but I love it. I say it to myself all the time when I'm making a decision. Which decision has light behind it? And then taking action once you've decided which option has the light behind it for you. Which one, when you close your eyes and think about it, I literally see the light pop on when I'm picturing them in my head. But you may just think, which one do you feel excited about? Which one do you want to move forward on? So that's why it's important that you have these people in your corner. You have people who truly will support you no matter what, because a lot of times what our true self wants doesn't make a lot of logical sense. So you need some people around you that can be your cheerleaders for a decision that may or may not seem logical to everybody. And that's why it's so important to have this community in place, or at least have a few people that can support you, because you're going to make a decision here and move ahead. And I think you will select the option that has light behind it, but you're going to take some time with it. You're going to take some time to determine what that is. Okay, now let's take a look at our tarot cards here. And these are our advice surrounding this. And oh my gosh, we have the Sun and we have the Three of Wands. When I pulled these initially, I couldn't believe we got the Sun again here. It's different systems, but actually similar meaning. And this is, again, you know, looking at what has light behind it. We're getting that message again and again throughout this. Which decision feels good? And the Three of Wands is about plotting your path. See, he hasn't set out on his journey yet. He's not going out there, but he's scoping things out. He's looking at where he might go. And that's really the next step. So we aren't, with the writer here, it's saying that yes, you, after taking some time, you will move ahead, but it's crucial to take that time to plot your path and decide what has light behind it. Where are you going to go? And how does that feel to you? And finally, we have our Oracle card from the New Orleans Oracle. And this is kind of the overarching advice for the spring. Oh my gosh, you guys, we have the Patience card. So that's coming up again and again. Patience. So even though there may be a lot of things that you want to act on, it's saying, hey, take some time. See what unfolds. See what arrows or wands come to you, which ones land in your path. So this in the spring, I feel like, is not necessarily the time to act. This is the time to collect data, to observe, to see what comes to you. And the time will come. The time will absolutely come. And now for our moss pile, which is represented by this green stone. What I did is I tuned in before pulling cards to see what vision may come up. And the first thing I saw was this soft, soft moss. And I saw a person kind of luxuriating on this moss. They were using it almost as a bed and just kind of rolling around and having a grand old time. They were feeling the moss. It was so soft. And there were all these like little creatures, almost like, you know, fairies. And they were just bringing them refreshments. And it was this magic time. And it was kind of this ongoing lazy party that was happening. There wasn't a lot of effort going into anything. It was just relaxing on this bed of moss. So this is already, I could tell this is already going to be a really fun pile of cards. Let's take a look at the theme that is coming up in the spring for our moss folks. And we have the 10 of Cups and the World. Man, does this fit with it, right? It's really evident that you've worked hard to get where you are, and now you're at the end of a cycle. And if you watched the wand pile, you can see that there's some similarities there. And this is a time to celebrate and enjoy it. I like, you know, these two people on the card, they're celebrating with family and their heart is full. And a lot of times when we reach the end of a cycle, there's a tendency to rush into the next cycle. But really think about this moment as you've finished reading something, and instead of just rushing to the next book and grabbing the next book, instead you're gently closing the page or closing the book and enjoying this kind of in between moment where you can bask in all the knowledge you gained, you can bask in what you've accomplished and the people around you, you can spend time with people and feel really excited about it. And it's saying like, look at all that you've conjured and created. So this is the time to enjoy and, you know, feel like you can just bask in this time, in this moment. For our Moss folks, what I did next was just ask what's important to know right now. What is important to know coming up? I just feel like this is a very direct message to you. I feel like this is not a time to be nitpicking about every area of your life. Instead, the cards have a very direct message. And what I got for what you need to know, you have the key and you have the lilies. So what I'm getting here is suspend this moment of success. Really take the time to enjoy it and just slow down and take stock of everything you've accomplished. And if you don't, maybe you're looking at this going, what the heck? I picked this pile. I feel like I'm not accomplished in this moment. If you're feeling like that, this is asking you to take the time to look at everything around you, because this is a moment worth celebrating, perhaps bragging about. It's a moment to really bask in. And if you're having a hard time seeing it, this is the time to tune in and look around and see what you have done, what you have accomplished. Now let's take a look at the advice for the spring for our Moss folks. And we have the Devil and the Knight of Cups. I just love these cards as advice. I think when the Devil shows up as advice, there's a number of ways to take it, but I think that this is really about indulging in this moment. And when I saw that image, it just felt so it felt indulgent. It felt a little devilish. It felt a little cheeky. And I think that is an okay thing to dig into right now. Now, I think the other thing the Devil is talking about is being attached to outcomes and looking at the outcomes. And that's something that we tend to get hung up on. And I think that's what's going on with these cards here. The advice here and what the cards want to tell us is to take time to bask in this moment and really look at success and what success means to us. Like, what does it mean to be successful? And this is clearly with the Knight of Cups following this as well, telling us to feel into this moment, to really get in touch with how we feel. Because what's the point of achieving things if we're not happy, right? So this is the time to, wherever you're at, to celebrate the wins you've had in your life and to decide what is a win. Because a lot of times we make up these kind of arbitrary rules in our mind of, oh, well, this success didn't count because I wasn't in this position at work, or they didn't take my idea even though I executed it well. We have these weird rules that we tend to create in our mind, and we talk ourselves out of success. And what this is saying is, even if you didn't achieve the expectation that you thought that you would achieve or that you may achieve, it's still important to look at what you have actually done. And I think the Knight of Cups, he's just romantic. I think he's sexy as hell. And I think he just wants us to enjoy this moment. And this is, I also feel like the Knight of Cups is very vulnerable and he's really sharing who he is. And I feel like it's the messages that want to come from our heart at this time. So this is a time to be really in touch with what we're feeling and to let ourselves feel the good feelings. And even if we didn't accomplish what we, like, quote unquote think we should have accomplished, that's successful, look at what you have accomplished at this time, because you've worked freaking hard and it's time to enjoy it. The Oracle advice card, this is from the New Orleans Oracle for our Moss folks. And we have Success. When I was pulling these, I could not believe this came up with all of this. It's just hilarious. So with this card, we are being asked to look at what success means for us. It's just really driving this message home again and again. And instead of thinking that success needs to look a certain way, let's determine what success looks like for us right now in this moment. Can we let feeling good become the goal, right? What do we want the goal to be? But we definitely want to be in touch with how we're feeling, because how we are feeling is essential to defining success. Last but certainly not least, we have our volcano folks represented by this candle. I blew it out because I'm clumsy and I will burn myself with it if I try to shoot with it on. Before I pulled any cards, I tuned in to just see what visions came up, and I saw a volcano finally erupting after a long period of dormancy. It felt like this pressure had been building and building, and finally this pressure was being released, and it had this feeling of disaster was happening. But it was clear that this is something that can't be avoided. So if you feel like some parts of your life are erupting or things are going on, there may be this inclination to feel like, could I have avoided this? Could I have done something to stop this? Could I have made better choices one way or another? But the answer is no. That's why natural disasters occur. We can't necessarily stop natural disasters. We can't stop a volcano from erupting. And that's what is happening here. So it may feel like this is so negative, but really this is something that needs to occur. And even though it feels like our landscape is totally changing and it looks like it's for the worse, it's likely for the better. This is a natural part of life. The themes that are coming up for the next few months. And we have the 5 of Swords and the 9 of Swords. What I'm seeing is that you are waking up and you're also learning to walk away or let go of things that are no longer working for you. It's time to really look around at perhaps damage that's been done in a particular situation, or maybe something that didn't go the way that you wanted it to go. And with the 9 of Swords reversed, I feel like at one point in time, you may have been beating yourself up about it and really in your head about it. And now's the time to really look around and see the situation for what it is. And it's really about not beating yourself up. It's about looking at the situation with clear eyes. And it may be that you have invested a lot of time and energy into something in particular, and perhaps that wasn't reciprocated. You may have put time into a work project or a friendship or something like that, and you're just not seeing the payoff, or someone may have betrayed you with that. So instead of pouring in more energy, it may be time to let that go. Maybe you did blow up at that person or something like that, and you let that pressure out, and now the landscape looks differently. The 9 of Swords is saying, look at the situation clearly and see, okay, that clearly wasn't serving me, and now that situation is going away or it's shifting, and perhaps that's for the best. So you're starting to see things with really clear eyes, and you are waking up, and you're able to see what needs to be done next in a very clear-headed way. Next up, let's look at the area of our life that's coming into focus for the spring. And we have the clouds. So I'm really seeing this as mental health. And this is a feeling of doubt, uncertainty, and it can be a little bit of depression. It could be sadness. So this is the area that's coming up. So let's see what is occurring surrounding that. And we have the Garden, the Spirit. We also have the Ring and the Sun. So what I'm getting here is it's really important to find a spiritual community at this time, or to find a place that you feel really tranquil or at peace in, or that you feel connected to. You need to find a community right now. And it's also saying to kind of make a commitment to that as well, to go again and again. And I really am getting the feeling that this is spiritual, or it has something to do with that in some way. And that's really what's going to part the clouds. Whenever the clouds show up, we want to find where the sun is, because the sun is going to part the clouds. So this is a time to get spiritual. And this isn't a solo endeavor. You want to get spiritual in a community of some form. Now let's look at our oracle card that's back here somewhere from the New Orleans Oracle. And this is our advice for the spring. And we have spiritual teaching. So this came up as well. This is the time to find a spiritual community. And this could be virtual as well too, but to find a spiritual community that resonates for you. And it may be something you've never done before, that you may feel is kind of out of left field, but something that you're attracted to. This could also be something maybe you've always wanted to do, or something that just pops up. And perhaps you watching this video is kind of one of the first steps of the season for you in this. You may, if you're here, you're probably already spiritual in one way or another, but this is the time to go deeper with it, or perhaps to find another venue or outlet for your spirituality. And it's important that you do this with a community of some kind. You have other people who are in the mix with you as you are exploring the next spiritual teaching on your journey. I hope that you enjoyed your spring forecast. And if you are a Lenormand learner, you're wanting to sharpen your Lenormand skills, or you're just starting out, you are wanting to learn the basics, make sure that you take my Lenormand mini course, which is linked down below. And keep an eye on your inbox, because I have something really special coming up in April through May for you guys. Okay, well, I hope you truly enjoyed this, and happy spring to you all.